Alex Maxwell.
And I'm Nathan Little, and I would like to play a game.
And I'm your number one fan. I'm Max Phillips. And this week, if you hadn't guessed by this situation with the lighting and
Whatever
I feel
this
like
is.
we should even address or encourage what Alex has done for this. But for audio listeners,
You knew
he's
about
wearing a mask that isn't actually that spooky because he got it when he went to see Busted.
You're
I don't know what you're
jealous.
doing. What's happening?
I'm just resetting my focus.
Take the
Just
mask
carry
off.
on. You've spoiled it. Just carry on. Ignore me.
All right, this is the first and last time we do an elaborate bit as the intro because it's just chaos, clearly.
It's not even that
Um,
elaborate.
It's not.
No, it's not, and I'm going to move my light back now.
Fine.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show!
We're doing a podcast.
I'm in a
So?
jumper.
Why?
All right, let's go.
We should
'Cause
just
I'm an idiot.
bring it back there. I'm in a jumper.
Excellent.
How are we all?
No, we're bringing it back. Oh, are we bringing it back there? Thank you. Okay. Yeah. I'm very well. It's been a very busy week. We've got, work. I have another job, remember? But, we've got a little project in the pipeline that we spoke about last week that I've been working on a little bit.
We do.
I know Nathan
I
and
also
yourself
have.
have been in writing holes.
Yes.
Do you want to elaborate or just sit and
rewriting the hit classic Holes.
Yeah.
We've got Shia
I said
LaBeouf
in
back as
Rising
the
Holes.
same character.
Yeah.
We've
Oh,
been
that'll be
in
weird.
writing holes.
We've been writing
Okay,
holes.
in comma writing holes. Okay, I see it.
Yeah.
It's
Apologies.
one of your worst
yeah.
bits yet.
So far, one of my worst
Yes.
bits so
It
far.
could still be bad later on.
Plenty more to come,
Oh,
including
yeah.
a Simpsons reference. So Nathan, what have you been writing?
As we alluded to last week, I've been
Mm.
writing a romance drama type film. I've surprised myself. I had a week off this week from my full-time job. And I think when I said last, I think I was on about 30 pages. I am now on 82 pages.
Yeah, you
Ooh.
smashed it this week.
Although I did read it through earlier and I was like, I think I'm beginning to hate this.
Oh, that's just how it
That's,
goes.
way it
that's,
is.
that's how it happens.
It's the way it is, but like it is the longest thing I've ever written. And I'm so close to the end. So
Never finish it.
okay.
That's what I
Still
do.
make it. Make it with an unfinished script. See what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, and you could probably sell that as like the artistic merit behind it is that it was
That
always supposed
merry-go-round
to
of
be
romance never ends.
Yeah, excellent,
Yep.
perfect.
Boom. There's your interview line.
But it does
Fucking
end.
done.
It'll
And
end. Right?
With
yeah,
death.
Alex, likewise yourself. You've been writing.
Yeah, mine's way more stupid. I say mine, it's ours.
You've been writing it,
I've
though.
essentially been adapting the beginning of a series idea that we had a couple of years back. And
Yep.
Siri just popped up there because I said series.
Nice.
Anyway,
Excellent.
yeah, so
Not sponsored.
it's like it's like a stupid dramedy. I think we originally had planned it to be an out and out comedy, but having written it, it ended up quite dramatic. So dramedy,
But funny.
finished- yeah, but funny. So finished the pilot episode of that,
Yeah.
and it sounds really impressive that I finished it, but it's significantly shorter than Nathan's thing, and
It's still finished.
done in about the same amount of time.
Well, if you take
Mm.
away the 3 years that we've been working on it, or however
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
it's been.
Yeah. And also
Yeah.
the forced requirement, as there was a deadline that you were
Yes.
working towards.
Yes, because there was a
But I was-
competition.
I was messaging you and we were talking about
What
this
is-
because I did the poster and stuff for you, and I was messaging Alex. I was like, dude, I've got free time. Stop clamoring to get to this deadline on your own. And you just kept ignoring that part of it. I was like, I'll help you write. I'll just help you do anything. And you were just like,
Well,
40 minutes to go. And I was like, I'll help you.
at that point in time, the pilot episode was finished, and I had to write a series
Yeah.
Bible, and I'd
Yeah.
written it all in here, and it was just formatting it. So that it was just writing it down typed, basically,
Yep.
and less scribbly, middle of the night madman's scrawlings in a notebook.
Well, because that's what I was expecting it to be, which is why I was like, dude, just hop on Discord. Like, let's just submit something that's okay here. But that's good.
Well,
That's
like I
all right.
said, it was very reminiscent of university in that the deadline was 11:59 p.m. and it was
Yeah.
at 11:57.
Yeah, boy.
Like
Woo!
every one of your assignments.
Hey, I'll have you know that some of them were late.
Oh, that was good. And,
Excellent.
and they
Excellent.
were as well. Like, I swear to God, I'd be like, oh, mate, I'm so stressed about this deadline. And you'd go, just get an extension. And I'd be like, fuck you. What do you mean, just get an extension? And then,
No,
but it makes
thing
sense.
is,
Like, I wish I had.
most of them weren't extensions. They were just
You got a
late.
few.
I got a few, not extensions per se. That was reassessment,
Right. Okay.
which is I hadn't done it, and then I had to do it over the summer. And no matter how hard I worked, the grade was capped at a
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
which was
Because
great.
I remember you still, in the end, got a higher grade than two of our other friends, who I won't name because they'll be upset. But they were like, how have you got a higher grade when half of it was capped? I mean, I was head and shoulders above all of you, obviously, but we don't talk about that one.
Obviously, I should have got a 2-1. I didn't, but I couldn't. I didn't have the energy. Right, let's not get too sad here. But out and out, I had to have reassessment because I was suffering with depression in second year, and kind of I'd come out the end of that by third year, but I still didn't quite have the mental energy to like fight it out with the
Yeah.
university. I was like, fuck it, I have a degree. See you later.
Yeah. You had
I survived.
our sort of project, whatever you call, course leader on our side, though. Like, Neil.
Neil.
Was, he was
Neil
with
is
you every
fucking
step of the way.
legend.
Yep.
Yes. What an absolute like what a dude.
Every
He's
lecture and
so
seminar that I
great.
had with him, he'd be like, "How's Alex?" And
and
he
you're
cared.
like,
I was like,
Yeah.
"He's okay.
he's
He's
still
doing
here.
fine."
Still here. Not here
Yeah.
at the lesson, but he's around.
He is alive. He exists.
Yeah, no, Neil was a legend. Shout out to Neil, who's
Shout
not
out to
watching
Neil.
this.
Could be.
He could be.
And if he
for no
was, he
reason.
would be so disappointed.
He'd be like,
Look how they've
all that
massacred
work.
my boy.
they being himself. Woo! Careers.
So,
anyway, Max, tell us
North and
what we're
South.
doing today.
well, first of all, boys, you know what time it is. It's film news.
Oh, I thought ours
Tell
was
you
the
the
film
time.
news.
News about film.
What's ours?
The one
I
that
writing
we've
thing?
just done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in theory, that is film news in a way, but it came after the jingle because I didn't introduce it, so I only have one this week because again, slow news week for films. But it was revealed this
Slow
week, and I
news
find this actually quite interesting. So you might be aware of some of these films coming out in October. In fact, Dune, which is the new Denis Villeneuve movie. They're excited for Dune. French Dispatch, Wes Anderson, his new one.
Yes.
Last Night in Soho, we've spoken about that already. That's the new Edgar Wright
Mhm.
film. And Jackass 4. They're all going to be released on
What?
the same
What?
day in October.
Oh god.
Piss
Yeah.
off, Jackass 4. What?
Did you not know about that? Yep.
No?
Yeah.
What the hell? I
Clear-
genuinely
cl-
had not even
Someone
heard.
doesn't follow
any
Steve-O
sort
on
of
Instagram.
No, I don't.
Yeah, no, they post about it all the time. Yeah, it's been happening.
what's Steve-O gonna do? Like, he's like all, I don't know, like health food and mindfulness now, isn't he?
Yeah,
Which
but
is
dude,
great.
like if you go on his YouTube, he still does like crazy shit all the time.
I remember seeing him like squeezing like a lime into his eye,
Yeah,
and then like hot sauce as well.
Yeah, he does a lot of stuff like that, but
Okay.
he's just now not a horrific drug addict, which is always a plus.
That's good. Yeah.
That's what you want.
Bam
To not
Margera's
be.
not going to be in it. He's he's currently got a what's it called when you get a piece of paper from the law that means you can't go within a certain distance of someone.
Restraining order.
Yeah, thank you. Fucking hell. He's got a restraining order has been filed on him from Jeff Tremaine, who's the director and creator of Jackass, because Bam Margera
Why?
is not well. He's got a lot of mental issues, but also like riddled with drugs and alcohol problems at the minute. And was attached to Jackass 4, and then they were like, you have to get clean for the shoot, and it basically all went downhill from there. I'd research it yourself. Don't take my word for it. I don't know, but he's not in it,
Okay.
and obviously Ryan Dunn won't be in it either because he's dead. So that's the end of film news. So
Anyway,
everybody, this week we're on to topic now. Thank you for putting up with that last 15 minutes or so of whatever that turned
of
out to be.
horse shit.
But that's at this point, if you're a regular viewer, you know what you're getting yourself for. As the title suggests, and as we said at the start of the video, this week we are discussing horror movies. Often
A
divisive.
horror film.
A horror film. Often divisive, but ultimately extremely popular, makes a shitload of money as an industry, the horror genre. So we thought, let's throw our hat into the ring and
I
give our
forgot to bring
opinions.
mine.
I'll be honest with you, when I was saying that, I was like, is it hat into the ring? What's the metaphor there? So I just ran with it. If it's hat in the ring, let me know.
Give our two cents.
Give our 2 cents. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give our thoughts, our opinions on it.
Get our thinking caps on.
Where does the hat into the ring come from? That
Ugh.
sounds like a weird expression.
Yeah.
Dunno.
Maybe
It was probably
it's
like illegal boxing matches where it's like,
that's
"Who's
what I was
next?"
thinking. That's what
And
I
you
was
just-
thinking.
Yeah,
You throw your hat into the ring.
yeah.
I'm picturing,
And then get beat up.
But what if you weren't picked? You'd have to like, gotta get my fucking hat again.
What if,
Oh,
what if
fuck's
someone like,
sake.
what? There's just loads of hats,
Yeah.
and they're like, this one.
You know, in like
this one.
wrestling where the crowd throw chairs into the ring. It's like that, but like an old timey version, like throwing those like trilby type.
What if
hats
someone
into the
threw
ring.
your hat? Do you have to fight?
Yeah.
That'd be. Imagine that. That's like the old timey prank.
Like who threw that? And it just points to the one guy in the 1920s crowd without a hat on, who's like, "It wasn't me. He threw my hat."
We're back to the old timey voices.
Yeah. As we've established, that's what they all sounded.
Everyone
like in the
sounded
past.
like that. Yeah.
Everybody back here sounded like that. See.
The thing about that is as well that's our like I say definitely mine and Alex's like go-to old-timey voice impression is, why do we do American? Why would ours not be like receive pronunciation British? Because we
I was
are
going to say what
being
is a
British.
1920s British one, but it would be RP.
Yes, it's like this, isn't it?
We're back here in the 1920s. See.
Yeah, that's
That
They
sounded
don't
more like
say
James
see.
Acaster.
Oh, we're back here in the 1920s.
Fuck off! That was so good. It was
Fair play. Fair play.
say your prayers. Say your
Say your
prayers, man.
prayers, say your prayers, say your prayers. It's not that good. I'm losing it here.
Oh,
Oh,
my
man.
god, that's fucking funny. Yeah, so horror films.
Horror films, right?
Yeah.
I'm interested in what your blanket statement thought is on horror movies, each of you. So I'll go for Alex.
They are
first of all.
spooky.
All right, we'll go to Nathan first. So they're spooky, and what else? Do you like them?
I don't really watch horror films. So
No. That's why I went
This
to you
is-
first, because I do technically know the answer. Spoilers for the podcast. We know a lot of stuff before we ask them, but
that's true. We ask questions for you. not each
You're
other.
welcome. Yeah.
It's
So
true.
you don't really watch them. How come?
It's just they're not my preferred genre. If I want to watch something that's tense, I just go for thrillers. It's similar. There's the similarities between the two. I just don't find like I don't know. Jesus Christ.
Fuck off, did it work?
that work.
No, clearly not.
It seemed like it did.
Sorry.
This is dumb.
So they're not your go-to because you don't want to basically get scared like you just did. You don't want to be shitting yourself. You just want to be relaxed.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's partly that. From the ones that I have seen, I'm just kind of like, I'd rather watch something else. That's basically it, really.
Yeah. And Alex, I said before we know the answers to questions before we ask them on here, but this one I don't know because I was surprised last week when we were discussing them what we were going to talk about this week, and I read out my list of things that when I said horror, you went, yeah, horror. That surprised me. I don't have you down as a horror movie guy.
I really like horror films.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, that's my blanket statement. There's plenty of bad horror films.
Oh, of course.
And if
Fuck
we can-
yeah.
Like if you've ever seen any of the Leprechaun films.
I haven't.
I
I know what it looks like. I've
Yeah.
seen that much.
Yeah.
But I've never cared. I saw that and went, yeah, I'm all right. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm going to give a hard pass on the Leprechaun.
Not that
and his
one.
films.
Not that. Not for me. No, they are really bad. But I like horror films as a blanket statement because either they are good and they scare me,
Mm-hmm.
or they're horrible and funny.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
And kind of, I feel like I've seen it written somewhere before online. It's like a horror film with your friends is a comedy
Yeah. Fuck
as
yeah.
well, and you've got like, doesn't matter how terrible it is, you just end up like pissing yourself laughing.
Well, that was why I
Or
watched
it's really
all of the
good.
Saw films.
But that wasn't that was different. So we did watch all of the Saw films that were out at the time at uni,
Mhm.
and
So did we actually in our house.
yeah, but I felt it wasn't so much like we were watching them as comedies though, because I love the Saw films.
Me
I
too.
like that. Those first 7 anyway
Oh,
were so good. Like that overarching 7. The
This-
first
No, no.
7.
no, there is. I'm just saying, like,
Well, there's 8,
I think they drop
9
off
now.
before you get to 7 is what I was going to say.
Oh no, they
But keep
absolutely
going.
do.
Yeah. But the overarching story
Yeah.
throughout the whole thing, because bear in mind, so James Wan, He
I
made
don't
those.
know, actually. Maybe.
the
I know-
the
yeah, I know.
first one, Saw was originally, I think, like an 11-minute short film,
Mhm.
and it was then picked up and funded to do the feature. And the short film was essentially what the first film is, which is the two of them in that grungy bathroom, right? And you can only imagine they got the money to do the first one, and that was kind of it, right?
Mm.
You wouldn't imagine that from that you get given a 7-season franchise of horror films. But
James
throughout
Wan.
the whole thing, there's still, I don't know, just the writing of it is actually really clever, and how each of them are kind of interconnected.
It is.
Which is why I was so disappointed when they brought out not the newest one, they brought out a
Jigsaw.
new one like 10 years later. Yeah, Jigsaw.
Oh,
and-
yeah, I've not seen it.
Bear in mind, the 7th film kind of ends on a cliffhanger. And I was thinking, come on, 10 years later, they've come back to it. Fucking, let's pick up where we left off and go absolutely fucking nuts. This could be so cool.
Mhm.
Because it was like, the spoilers, the doctor who was in the room in the first one is now working with the Jigsaw killer. That's like the very end of the last film. And then in the 8th installment, in Jigsaw, if I'm getting the numbers right, it's not referenced at all, and Jigsaw had this new secret protege that was never. They've just rewritten the history of Saw,
Mm.
and it fucked me off. I still enjoyed the film,
Yeah.
It was just kind of that twist ending. I was like, eh.
The thing with Saw as well, by the third one, and I like them up to 5, but by the third one, they started to become more about. They became renowned as the gore films, right? Rather than
Yeah, it was like torture porn kind of stuff. It was
torture porn,
like
exactly. So
we
they
go
just
and watch
sort of,
it to see the ridiculous things that happen in it.
exactly. So they
Well-
ran with that. So the first 2 and number 3, to be fair, were very story centric. And I'm not saying the others aren't. I still like them. They still run with it. But there is that cut off point where it suddenly goes, right, this was sort of like a more thriller territory, and then it goes into gore porn.
Well, so I agree to a certain point. I think the first one happened, I think probably audience interviews or whatever kind of test beds, they said these traps are pretty cool. That's new.
Yeah.
The second one is like, second one's like the house full of traps
Mm-hmm.
from memory. So
Yep.
there's shitloads of traps. It's quite gory. That got great responses. It did well. Third one, gore. Gore.
Yeah.
Al fucking gore. Right? But then, I think around 4 or 5, towards the end of the series of films, they actually turned it back again. There was less traps and less gore from my memory. I haven't seen it in years, but I
Yeah.
have watched them all about
I
5
think
times.
I think of them as like they became like big set pieces. You know what I mean? Like it was the films were sort of crafted
Big,
around
intricate
the
traps.
traps. Yeah, big intricate traps.
Yeah.
And they were
yeah, I
crafted
get
around
that.
the traps rather than the traps were part of the story, if you know what I mean. Like in the third one, there's a guy
I
that
will
drowns in
concede to
pig
that.
guts, which is like so gross and like completely different to when like in the later ones where you've got like the one that snaps your jaw this way.
The reverse
From-
bear
yeah.
trap.
Yeah. So there is a bit of a change there. I'm not complaining because it's fucking cool. Like, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Even the ones that I don't really like of Saw, I'm still like, that was cool, you know?
Well, this thing,
Yeah.
they kind of have their place in the fact that there wasn't anything doing something like that at the time, and it
Oh, yeah.
scratched the itch of what if like really fucked up things happened in a film.
Well, so that kind of gets me onto my next point is that so I like most of the horror films I've seen,
Mm-hmm.
and Saw is quite gory. And so
Yeah.
in my head, I was like, oh, I'm fine with gore. I know it's a film. It's all fucking tomato sauce. So that's what your parents tell you when you're a child and you're a really anxious child and you get sick because someone's bleeding. Anyway, that was Casualty. Some guy got his hand in a meat grinder at a butcher's, and I think
Oh,
I'm mute.
Nice.
So that kind of takes me on to, I then started to try and watch the Hostel series.
Oh,
Yeah, gross.
That is the first time I had to stop watching a film because of how gory it was. And it's weird because the scene that it got me on, this is having already watched all of the Saw films.
Yeah.
The scene that got me was there was this woman, she was kind of like lying naked on this kind of stone bed with like a bath around it. And then she picks up a scythe and there's like a guy kind of restrained, like hog-tied above her. And she basically just keeps cutting him and like the blood is pouring all over her. And for whatever reason, that's probably not even the most gory thing I've seen, but it turned my fucking stomach and I had to turn it off. I was like, that was Hostel 2, I think. First one was
doesn't a
good.
similar thing happen in Saw though? There's like a big like pendulum thing
yeah.
with a big knife on it or something, and the
it
same thing.
gradually
I don't know
gets
what it
lower.
was.
Like it slowly goes towards them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That does happen.
Mhm.
It's just slightly different. I don't know.
It's situational
It's
as well,
slower.
isn't it? Sometimes you just
Yeah.
you're not there. Like I've always been fine
Yeah,
with gore and
but
stuff.
it-
I've never had
yeah.
any problem with it. If anything, I enjoy it more if it's gory because I'm that kind of loser. But like, I remember when I was like 15, 14, I watched a movie with my friends called The Hitcher, and in that there's a scene where a guy gets tied to 2 cars. And then the cars drive in opposite directions, and it rips his arms and legs, and like it rips him in half, basically. And I was at that age, I went,
Nice one.
I'm all right, guys. Can we watch like Austin Powers or something like? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I
other
get
than that, I don't have any memories of being like grossed out or anything because I've always, like you said, just gone. That's ketchup.
Yeah, I mean,
Ketchup.
going away from gore slightly, because obviously not all horror films are gory.
No.
A lot
No.
of them are a lot to do with the
Spoopy.
psychological part of, horror, basically, which is the tension. And one of the ones which I remember very distinctly because I had questionable things to say about its ending, but The Mist,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh.
very,
The ending
very...
of that movie, dude.
Oh. Yeah.
So, Alex,
But-
have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all right.
I
So
think we watched- I
spoilers
think
for
we
The
watched it.
Mist.
in uni.
Yeah,
Spoilers for The Mist.
yeah,
Because it's a
spoilers.
series on Netflix as well, which I think they've recreated the movie. So if you're watching the series,
right,
I
okay.
imagine it ends the same as the film. And
Probably.
if you haven't seen the film and you want to, go for it.
Yeah,
But
just go watch
skip
it.
ahead.
It's good, but so that I think is a really, really good example of how to do tension
Mhm.
because it's all that one location, isn't it? They're in the supermarket for pretty much the entire film,
Yeah.
right?
There is a little bit
Um,
of kind of, I say gore, of its time gore.
Yeah, not
It
more
isn't
like
the focal point, though.
yeah. It's
It's
I mean, I
injury.
can't completely remember it, but yeah, someone I don't know.
It's more
people-
I can't remember
injury
specific
than
injuries.
out and out gore.
Yeah, it's not like Saw.
Yeah,
Um,
shit goes down in the shop for sure.
And like, so the ending it to me was an incredible payoff to the tension, which is then immediately ruined by what comes after.
Yeah.
So
Oh, do you not like it?
I hated it.
Yeah, I don't like
So-
it.
Did you hate the ending, or did it upset you? Because they're different.
No, I didn't like it.
I
find-
loved it, but it
I-
hurt me. so
I
much.
I wish they'd done it differently because I like the fact that to remind anyone who has seen it, they
Like you
drive in the car,
forget.
run out of fuel, right?
Yeah,
And then they decide
stuck
that
in the mist.
because whatever is in the mist is going to kill them, they decide to all murder-suicide pact basically, and then the mist lifts as these tanks are coming behind them, and I understand it. It's like they were so close to being.
It doesn't quite lift.
No,
the
but
tanks
it's
just kind of push
they
through
come
it.
through.
Yeah.
But I was like,
And it's like they didn't have to die.
yeah, that was the whole point of it.
But there's that because there's 6 people or 5 bullets. So
Yeah.
the kind of dad of the family has to kill
Yeah.
these old
Oh,
people,
right.
his
Yeah.
his lover, his
Yeah,
child.
his child, yeah. I was gonna say
And
that's the
he's
big
just
thing.
kind of yeah, and he's just waiting for the monsters to come get him. He thought he was making a bigger sacrifice by being torn apart by monsters.
Yep.
And then it's when the trucks start coming past, and it's his wailing. It's like this.
If it had been a single truck, but I'm pretty sure there was flamethrower things
Yeah,
that
the
were
army
going
game.
through, and to me it just felt like
I love that, by the way. They had flamethrowers, and Alex went, "Yeah, the army," with the flamethrowers.
I didn't mean that. I meant more than one truck.
yeah, no, but it would all if there was a single truck, then it's okay, they've been saved, but it felt like an action piece after that, and I was like, it just felt like all of the tension
It's like
had
the
gone.
end of Shaun of the Dead, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
But Shaun of the Dead was
It's okay because it's Shaun of the Dead.
yeah,
it's a
exactly.
comedy.
Basically, it's supposed to be taking the piss out of that genre.
Now, I have to contest. I thought
Well, that's too bad because this is all we've got time for. So
Join us next week
yeah.
on Cutting to Black. No, we're not
Go
going to
on,
do that.
contest.
we won't do it. Go on. Do it.
I like it as an ending. It was so unexpected, So it was harrowing to see him kill his family. I was like, if anything, if it was just he'd killed them and was then going to be eaten by monsters, I would have been infinitely more disappointed.
Mm.
I would have been like, oh, right, they're all dead then.
Yeah.
And if anything, it's that kind of none of them had to die,
Mm.
Yeah.
and now he's alive and has to live with the fact he's murdered his family.
Yeah, see, I
And
hate
it's-
it because it makes me cringe. It's like, oh,
you
no.
sat there going,
Like, yeah.
no.
But
No.
also, like, I think it lasts a bit too long. I feel like it should be a shot of maybe the mist lifting gradually, and then the army trucks, and then cut, rather than that whole wailing.
Well,
and
to
like,
me,
as you say,
it's-
flamethrowers and all those lot.
yeah, that bit was just, I thought that was ridiculous, but it's very
Yeah, standard
reminiscent to
army
me
shit.
of 10 Cloverfield Lane. The
Yeah.
ending
Seen
of
that
10.
one.
Okay,
But
maybe,
I probably won't. So
okay,
crack
that's
on.
fine then. So the ending
If you
of 10
have
Cloverfield
spoilers,
Lane. Yeah, more spoilers. 10 Cloverfield Lane is incredible as like a single location. Again, another single location horror film with a shitload of tension. John Goodman is incredible as a villain.
Yep.
The whole thing, brilliant.
John
Then-
Badman.
They leave the bunker that they're staying in because they think that he's been lying to them. And then I can't remember exactly if they see like the monsters before, because it's loosely tied to Cloverfield. I think
Yeah,
that was
it
the
is, yeah.
intention.
yeah,
Yep.
it's part of the
Um,
Cloverfield universe.
Yeah. And they drive like out, and then they see like the city being attacked by all these monsters, and to me it just felt like you're introducing something that didn't have to be introduced.
Yeah,
Like it felt like you had this amazing tension build up through the whole of the film, and now it's just like, oh, there's
So-
even more.
So
Like,
he wasn't lying to them.
No.
well, the story with that is that originally 10 Cloverfield Lane wasn't attached to Cloverfield or anything like that. It was never supposed to
This is one
be.
of a few films that this has happened with.
Yeah, and then the studio basically went, after they'd made it, they went, nah, we're not putting this out. And then J.J. Abrams, I think, was the one that went, hey, why don't we... That's what he sounds like. Why don't we...
J.J. Abrams is from the 1920s.
Yeah, I realised I was just trying to do a high-pitched voice, and then I started doing that, hey, looky here, she, again. But no,
It's a
he was like,
Cloverfield film, see?
hey guys, why don't
Part
we
of franchise.
make it a Cloverfield film? and
That
then
was
they
horrible.
and then they did to get it put out. He was like, I can just make it put this thing on the end of it so it becomes part of this, because Cloverfield was so successful, and I think they wanted to reboot it anyway. So then that's why it got put out, whereas it would have just been a film that was just set in the house the entire time, other than that. Which is good fun. Studios ruin everything is the message there.
Yeah. But if you want to give us money to make films, we're not going to say no.
We are happy to sell out. Can you think of any other
Oh.
horror films that have kind of been made worse by franchising?
On the spot?
On the spot.
What was the one that had like a load of sequels that wasn't Saw? That it was like really, really popular. It was similar to Blair Witch, like found footage.
Oh, Paranormal Activity.
Paranormal
Oh
Activity.
my god, yeah.
Yeah.
That had like two. I hadn't seen any of them. I just remember.
First
like,
one's good.
Another one? Yeah, because it was like new form, right? It was similar
Yeah.
to Blair Witch, but it was like different enough, and it was like
Yeah, because
really,
it
really low
incorporated
budget.
like house CCTV and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
It kind of took what was scary about Blair Witch and put it in your home.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was like,
it was
which
it
makes
was a natural
scarier.
progression going from Blair Witch to Cloverfield to Paranormal Activity. I think that was where you could end the found footage thing, because it was like, how
yeah.
far can you take it? Because then you saw what M. Night tried to do with The Visit, and it's awful.
What was that one?
Oh, yeah, the one where I mean, I saw the twist coming in that, but it's a girl making a documentary about her visit to her grandparents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
What's
was
interesting
interesting.
though with kind of the development of technology is I can see in another like within the next 10 years like the concept of like I mean we've seen things like Google glasses, Snapchat glasses, probably get like in-eye lenses. I think later on down the line, though it shouldn't
Yeah.
happen, you'll start to see kind of found footage of those where it's very much
actually,
POV.
Thinking about it, I suppose that it didn't end at Paranormal Activity. It kind of ended at like Unfriended and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the one
Brings
that
it
I don't
into your
think I've
screen.
seen yet is like the smart home things could be an interesting setting.
Mhm.
Like the front door, like the Amazon. Is it Ring?
Yeah, the
that they
Ring.
own?
Yeah.
And Alexa's and Google Home, whatever else there is.
Yeah.
It could
be
be, and you could go
interesting.
two ways with that. You could have, similar to Unfriended, someone kind of hacking into it, or you could even go kind of further back to stuff like HAL.
Yeah.
like, The smart home turns on its owner. I think The
Yeah.
Simpsons have already done like parodies of that, but it's stuff that
Probably.
you'll see. It brings the horror and what's scary closer to you. So, like you
Yeah.
say, it's got Blair Witch in the forest. Then you've got Cloverfield, which is kind of like in a city.
New
Then
York.
it's in New York, and then you've got Paranormal Activity. It's in your home. Unfriended. It's on your screen right in front of you, and
Yeah.
I think it's going to get closer and closer to the viewer.
It's in your brain.
It is you.
You are the found footage.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, this is a little bit of a swerve, but
Swing.
VR horror is
Mm.
a horrific experience.
Is it horrible?
It's horrible.
So, like
But
the
yeah.
horror games.
Horror games, and I do think that I don't think it's going to be mainstream, but VR films could potentially be very, very interesting for horror.
Wouldn't want it. Would
No,
not
Me
want
neither.
it.
I
And
don't
I'll
want
tell
it.
you
I'd
why.
outright reject it.
It's why I don't like the choose your own adventure films.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like I'm missing anything.
Yep.
Right.
So if
yeah.
there's if I can look behind me,
Yeah.
the whole time I will think I'm missing something. But in terms of business, for things like streaming services, if it became available there, it'd be fucking phenomenal because you'd have people re-watching your film to catch what they've missed.
Yeah, well,
But that's horrible. That would be a thing to make money because it would be shit.
It
well,
was. yeah.
I like VR experiences. I think they're really good. Like,
Me too.
the-
I had a go on one for the first time. Second time. I got to play with one very briefly at uni. But my brother has one of the Oculus ones, the ones that doesn't connect to
Yeah.
like a. It
Oh,
doesn't
yeah,
have
like
like
the
the sensors.
wireless.
The sensors
Yeah.
are just in its thing. The Facebook one, I think.
yeah.
And you know those videos of people walking the plank on top of the skyscraper,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and like you see them like jumping at their telly and
Yeah.
breaking shit. The amount of those I've seen, and
And
be
you
like,
think, that, like I do,
pathetic.
you're an idiot.
yeah, twats. How could
Yeah.
you know you're in a room? What's
Yeah.
wrong with you?
No, you don't.
I had a go, and holy shit, it's upsetting. It's the fact
alright.
that it's so immersive. You
Yeah.
forget, like, because it's got your peripherals. You can't.
You can't see
nothing-
anything else.
Nothing
Yeah.
in your brain. None of your senses are telling you you're in a room, other
Yeah.
than that you know. And so, like, you're there. It's there. It's a very long way down. You know it's not because the floor's there. And then you're supposed to like step off. My brother was like, "Step off the end. You parachute down." He lied. And like the falling isn't so bad because as soon as you fall and you don't feel the inertia of falling, you're like that almost actually brings you back to the room.
Yeah.
But it's when you hit the ground.
Mm.
I just felt everything in my body pull up,
Yeah.
like as if my
Smack your
body was
microphone.
retracting away from the impact,
Yeah. It's
and I
really
felt like
interesting
such an idiot.
the way that
My dad
it
couldn't
kind
do
of-
it. Rob could not do it. He put it on. He was like, I could do this. It's great. He got to the edge of the lift, and he was there for about 5-10 minutes, and he just ended up taking it off. He said, I can't do it, which is mad. I did not
It-
expect it.
But that's why I find it they could be really interesting for horror things because I've got 2 horror games. I played one for 3 minutes and turned it off because there was a little girl in front of me and it shit me up. And I was like, I'm never coming back to this ever
Nathan has a
again.
phobia of little girls.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
hate children.
Even though
To be fair, they are fucking scary. Like,
They are when
Little
it's
girls.
a dark room.
yeah. No,
When it's a
nah,
dark
just in
room,
general.
And it's
when
like,
I'm at work and they come in,
Girls.
I'm like, ah!
You work in a pub. They shouldn't be there.
Yeah,
that's why it's so scary.
People bring kids to pubs all the time.
Yeah, you can
Yeah, I
eat there.
guess.
Yeah, it's a restaurant, it's a hotel.
I forget there's like a daytime shift.
Yeah, even in the night, like, yeah, it's the north, mate.
Good point.
Yeah. But anyway, carry on. There was a little terrifying girl in front of you.
Yeah, anyway, yeah. So, like, you know, it's having that kind of immersive experience. I think going down that route is, I feel like, the next step for
Mm-hmm.
to make things scarier in horror. I don't know what else you can do. There's been loads that have been done, like we've been saying about, you know, getting closer and closer, like being in your home, being on your screen, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would be really interested to see where it could go with VR. Because
I've always had a theory that they're gonna do, and it'll be super illegal, but I've always seen it as a thing that could and probably does happen, is that you could have like a 4D cinema experience in a horror film, and it's as you say, you've got the VR goggles on, but they just give you a shitload of LSD first. Yeah, because like
Fuck you up.
that's
a Big
to
Mouth
me,
episode.
That's like a, is it?
Kinda. They go to like a Halloween horror house, and they're told to drink a cup of something,
And, yeah, they get
and like
spiked
nothing
with
happens,
LSD.
but they all trip out.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, like that's, to me, I've always thought that has to be the ultimate immersive experience in a horror film.
What,
just
doing
be
drugs.
hallucinating things that you're being shown. Yeah,
You can't guarantee that it'll be a bad trip. They'd be like,
No,
that was a
you
shit horror film.
You might love
I had
it.
9 arms. It was great.
yeah.
That's not
like your
horrible. I
idea
want
of
it now.
how good life can be. Just like 9 arms.
Having 9 arms.
Woo!
It's just the first. I don't even know why it's not an even number. 10 arms.
Yeah.
Where's the odd one?
3 on one side, 4
I
on the
feel
other.
like,
3
yeah.
and 3 and 1 in the middle.
I feel like
I
once you
almost
get past
thought, like,
anything
out the
past
back.
2, it doesn't matter.
Like a scorpion?
A Stegosaurus.
Or like
All of your all of like the 7 other arms are like along your back.
like who's the guy in Spider-Man?
Dr. Octopus.
But you've only got 7. Where'd you lose
I
it?
almost said Dr. Octagonopus. Do you remember that?
Dr. Octopus, but they're all just human arms.
That's a pitch idea.
Yeah, I was just
Oh,
thinking
that's
that.
horrible. But I have a question.
But-
I have a question. And
Yeah.
it is for Nathan.
Hello.
And as the editor, he can cut it out if he's not comfortable answering the question.
Oh God.
As the only one of us with VR,
Mm.
have you
Don't
tried
ask
VR
this
porn?
question.
Have you tried VR porn? If so,
No.
what's it like?
I haven't.
Bet he has. He's lying.
You are so predictable, dude.
Oh, come on.
When you said
You have to ask.
as the only one with VR headphones, I was like, Alex is going to talk about porn now.
I have to. I'm curious.
I
Because
have
I
seen,
assume it'll be shit.
talking about horror, on Steam the other day, I saw... No, it's to do with porn. There was a game which was set in hell,
Right.
and you were sent to hell, and you had to have sex with as many devil ladies as you could,
Disgusting.
while a bunch
Gross. What's it called?
of
Go on. Why is
and
it
there was
so
like
horrible?
Because you have, like... I looked at the screenshots, you have, like, this red devil dick. It's like...
Why do you get a devil dick if you've been sent to hell?
No.
Seems like
Hey,
a
we
perk.
don't know what happens in hell.
That's
True.
true.
We will, I'm
But
sure.
with this game, you can
Oh,
find
fuck
out
yeah,
for
we
just
will.
$5.99.
But interesting. I know we're swerving away from horror, but just because we're on
Quite a bit.
VR, I saw a really interesting game. I think it's just called Blink, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
meant to be quite. I don't know. Some people find it quite upsetting because it monitors every time you blink your eyes, and every time you blink, it jumps you forward in time, but to varying degrees.
Hmm.
So like you make choices throughout the game, which kind of dictates what happens later on, but it can throw a twist at you. Maybe you've started a family, but now they're all dead. I don't know.
Woo!
But it's just interesting to me how immersive things are getting, and
Yeah.
we're gonna have like a Ready Player One situation eventually, guaranteed. We'll have like a Second Life. We already had all that stuff. You've got like Second Life and we've got onto VR now.
Yeah.
But-
Well, here's a segue for you.
Segway.
Talking about Blink. When I think back to like why I like, because I asked you guys at the start, but I didn't say it myself. I love horror movies. I properly love them. And when I think back to what it is that makes me love them, it's because I grew up watching them in sort of stages, and there was always a taboo around it, around horror movies, because when you're a kid, it's like, oh, this one's a 15 and I'm 8. This one's an 18 and I'm 7. Like, it's like always appealing. But for our generation, one of the entry level horror films was the Doctor Who episode called Blink.
Oh my god.
Mm.
No.
And-
okay, that's not the one I
Oh.
thought you were going to talk about, but yeah.
Were you thinking about the little boy with the gas mask?
Yes, that was
He's
horrific.
fucking scary.
Have you
seen what is it? Are you my mummy?
Oh, have you seen my mummy?
Yeah, it's
Horror
one of the
That
two.
is-
Yeah,
Horrifying.
I
that
fucking
was
hated when I
was
a
fucking
kid.
scary. But the
But
the episode
Don't
called Blink
was
Yeah.
nah, mate, absolutely out. Even now as an
starring
adult, that-
Carrie Mulligan.
oh,
No, it's in the second one. There's
She's
two.
she's the
There
first
is
She's the
two.
first one.
Blink one. There's a few actually.
Oh,
Doctor Who
Yeah.
likes to revisit.
they
yeah.
do.
I mean, I've never
This-
been a big Doctor Who fan, but in the sort
I
of
have.
in the Eccleston and Tennant era, I watched
Yeah.
a few, not like religiously, but like I'd go through phases of watching it quite a bit, and I remember
Yeah.
Blink so
Vividly.
like strongly, like, man, what a concept, like horrifying.
But I think that kind of segues a little bit to what one that came into my head that I forgot about.
Mhm.
It's actually maybe one of the best horror films I've seen, and it's called Hush. And I think it's interesting
Oh,
that
I saw
horror
that in
tends
the
to
cinema.
play off of your senses quite
Mm.
often.
Yeah,
Like with that, the sense of sight and
Yeah.
having to see. But Hush is kind of about a deaf girl whose
Yep.
home is getting invaded, and
Mhm.
again, that's that idea of your space being encroached upon by
Yeah.
something evil, and that was such a good film. I remember I watched that on my own, which
Oh,
is
big
good.
brave
Oh
boy.
dear.
Available on
Yeah.
Netflix now. If
I-
you're interested.
It is. I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Interestingly, the girl who stars in that is also in The Haunting of Hill House,
Oh.
which I've watched both of those series, Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor. The first
Yeah.
one's better.
Way better. Like
I'm not
unreal
so
levels of better.
significantly better.
Yeah.
Both very good.
Oh, I wouldn't
um,
even say that. I would say very good, fine.
I think it's tricky as well though, because I didn't watch The Haunting of Hill House until like Haunting of Bly Manor was about to come out. I just
right, okay.
hadn't gotten round to it. So I kind of went back to back, and in my head I was like, it's difficult to critically examine it because I've just watched something so phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like The Haunting of Hill House is next. And the thing is, I've never been big. That actually, I was going to ask,
We know.
what?
I've never been big.
I've never been big. Fuck you. Correct. Correct.
For audio listeners, Alex is small. Sorry.
Fuck you.
Sorry.
That was
Go on.
upsettingly good. It was too good. It kind of, I've never been really big on pause after on
Yeah.
kind of supernatural horror or
Mm.
ghost horror.
Hmm.
Is it because your brain
But-
goes, ghosts aren't real?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And still, even then, watching the Haunting of Hill House, I was like, fuck,
Yeah.
fuck, shit.
Oh
shit.
yeah, exactly the
Because
same.
I don't
because-
believe in ghosts. I'm not a spiritual guy.
Yeah.
And it's just not something that, like, Paranormal Activity, I was on the hype like everyone else, but I wasn't particularly scared. There was jump scares that I went, oh,
Yeah.
you know. But other than
Yeah.
that,
It's kind of cheap though. Those,
but Haunting of
jump
Hill
scares.
House has like maybe one jump scare, one or two,
Yeah.
and it actually makes sense to what's happening. It's something that that makes sense in the story, but just happens to, like, I don't know, spoilers. Like,
Yeah.
I won't say who or what, but like someone dropping from like a rafter, having hung themselves. Like,
Yeah.
for that person, the person in the story, that's just dropped out of somewhere and it's scary. So for the audience, it makes sense for that to be scary.
Yeah.
And a bit of a jump scare, but
That's my
It's
like
just-
number one. Just as a side note, my number one like fear in horror movies is that sight of someone hanging themselves. I hate it. It proper.
yeah.
When you see
It's not
pictures, like old school pictures of like public executions in the past, or like Mussolini, or horrible shit, like when like in history you'd see like pictures of lynchings and stuff like that. I've always been like, oh, I hate it. It makes me feel there's something just
It's
so
so upsetting.
horrible about that image of the way that people like just hang. So anytime, even in a film like a genuinely scary film, The Woman in Black, when she hangs herself off the chair in that scene, fuck that, man. I was like,
Spoilers.
oh, Jesus Christ! Like, properly, like, I was at the cinema as well, and I was like 16, like, trying to be cool with my mates and a group of girls.
Jesus Christ!
And I literally was like, I remember, like, there's a scene at the start where a tap goes off, and everyone all screamed, and I was doing that classic lad thing of like, oh, you not seen a horror film? And then when that happened, I remember being like, ah! Like, properly, like, out loud, like, Jesus! Like, not like as an adult, my responses are different because I'll go like "fuck off" or something. But like back then, as a like developing child, I was like,
Jesus Christ! What's interesting is I went to see The Woman in Black in London, like the stage
play.
performance of it.
Mm.
And I thought, there's no fucking way that you can have a horror play. Like,
Mhm.
I couldn't conceive of the idea of being scared of a stage play. And
Yep.
kind of having done a lot of theatre over the years, I was like, I'll know how they're doing everything. It's fine.
Yep.
Fucking horrifying. Christ on a bike.
Really?
I shit myself so many times, and I couldn't tell you how they did it. Probably
Mad.
body doubles, but I don't think so.
Can you give
Mad.
us examples?
I feel like
Mad. There's one. It might have been projection or something, or just tunnels, I guess. But like, there was one bit where, so you've got the stage, and then there's like a gauze, and then there's like they light behind the gauze, and there's actually like another stage length behind it, and you
Right.
kind of see her walking along places, and then she just fucking legs it from behind you down the aisle.
Oh, that's good.
Going like, "Ah!" And I was like, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, that sounds
I would
awful.
fucking poop
I have
my
to
pants.
say, as like an actor, doing horror stuff on stage must be so rewarding because you have that reaction immediately
Immediate
to it,
payoff.
rather than like, oh, I have to wait for the edit and then see if the edit is scary and then go to the screening and see if people like that's like months down the line. But seeing that like genuine reaction to something you're doing there and then must be
Yeah.
like really, really cool to see.
Yeah, that's true. That's a
Yeah,
good point.
And I think it was because it's the screaming,
Mm.
Yeah.
the constant screaming. But
I
yeah,
would be-
no,
I mean,
didn't
I-
think horror would translate to the stage.
I was uncomfortable as a child with cats, so I dread to think I wouldn't have enjoyed that experience.
the musical
stage play,
or
yeah,
just
yeah.
cats.
No,
The
I was
animal.
fine with cats.
The
Like I
animal.
was perfectly fine with them. But when they're like blokes,
You were
blokes
fine
in
with the play,
makeup and
cats.
leotards and like going around like stomach cavity.
That's
I'm
just
like,
any show. I'm scared of blokes in leotards.
Also, like how like
Hey Max, do you want to go to the ballet?
it made me sound like such a bigot as well, the way I phrased it. Like when it's fellas.
Blokes in
a
makeup and
dress.
leotards.
Wasn't
That's
what
so
I meant.
scary.
When it's people dressed as fucking cats, you know how they looked in the stage play with the big whiskers and that and big hair.
Max hates
And I
Halloween.
was not a fan. I mean, I loved it. Like, I properly loved it. But my only memory of being there, I have two memories.
It's quite a divisive musical.
One is being there and being deeply uncomfortable when they came into the aisles and stuff like that. That's all I remember. And then the other memory is we got it on video and I like wore that shit down. Which just, it's funny to me now because I'm sure that there was a time when like 7-year-old Max was stood like watching a VHS like, memory! Just like belting out the Elaine Page version of Memory, and my mum was downstairs going, Jesus Christ, like, because I loved it, but deeply haunting memory of them creeping up behind you in the aisles and that. Wasn't a fan of that side of it. So just because we were talking about stage plays, if you were wondering what the little jolt there was, we had to do a quick camera reset. But we're back, we're ready. You were talking earlier after we got distracted by the horror of cats about paranormal films, and you don't really get behind them usually until The Haunting of Hill House. You don't really get behind them because logic gets in the way. And I'm one of those people for sure. Like when I have like friends that like fully believe in ghosts, and they're my dear friends and I love them, but like there's a part of my brain that's like, you're dumb. like it's they're so obviously not real to me. Like and then I'll get sent TikToks of some fucking couple that blatantly fake ghosts in their house, and it's like, here's proof, and I'm like, that is not proof. I can tell you how they did it just by watching this fucking video. But like,
I'm more of a skeptic.
I'm like a proper like, I think in my, it's like, for example, I say this like now when it comes to like religion, it's like when I was a student, I was an atheist, and now I'm like, I'm an atheist, you know, like I'm sort of agnostic. I'm like atheist. I believe what I'm shown to be proven true.
Yeah,
but
evidence.
But I'm not really passionate. Ghosts, however, can fuck off. And you can quote me on that one. I'm passionate as hell. I hate the idea that we should even for 1 second treat that like it's true. But with that said,
that's funny.
Go on.
Sorry, is so Hannah's grandmother, lovely lady. She is very religious.
She's a ghost,
as is her right. But it was a new angle on ghosts that I've never experienced, which is ghosts could be real, but all of them are evil.
Right.
Because if they weren't evil, they would have ascended to heaven. So there's
That's
no like,
interesting.
there isn't any kind of like loved ones coming back to visit, you know, none of that. Any ghost, if it were real, would be evil. Because
Casper?
once you're in...
Not Casper.
Casper, the friendly ghost who sinned so much he couldn't get to heaven. Genuinely, I just
now
thought
we know
it was
why he hangs
interesting.
around with that little girl.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh dear!
Sorry.
Because they're best friends.
Yeah, they're just best mates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Casper
But yeah,
the
so
Nonce.
Casper the nonce.
Casper the Noncy ghost.
Casper the fiddly ghost.
Did somebody say sequel?
Oh no!
I like that idea as a horror film, though. That's like the established.
I mean,
rule.
that's kind of sort of like it almost is done, isn't it? Because what I was going to say is my passionate distaste for the idea that ghosts are real doesn't translate to film, because I just go, well, I see it as fiction. So my favorite horror film franchise by far is The Conjuring, and all those movies. I fucking love them.
Like the Annabelle ones as well.
Yep, even the rubbish ones like Annabelle Creation and The Nun. Love them. Like, me and Victoria have been to the cinema to see all of them. It's just
They're
like,
quite
you know,
jump scary though.
when it comes, well, they're actually not. They're very, very similar to The Haunting of Hill House in the way that the horror like grows and it's tension.
Well, the
Mm.
Conjuring
And
does
it's
have some
in the
jump scares
Conjuring,
with the red
in the
face
Conjuring.
guy.
Oh, don't get me wrong, they're all there, but
Horrible.
it's fucking scary in the way that it builds a mood.
It's not just
And
like
the
a
way
sudden
that-
like there it is.
Yeah, and it's like dolly zooms and stuff like that
Yeah.
that they use in there to like make like this house looks weird as we zoom in on it. It's
Yeah.
like you can tell in every camera angle and all the weird like it's not just dolly zooms but like weird like Dutch angles and stuff that they've got going on that's always telling you that there's something weird in this place.
The Conjuring. I think it's the Conjuring. Oh no, it's Inception. No, Inception.
What?
What? Insidious.
Insidious.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Fucking Inception.
I was
horror
like,
film in the
how'd you get
world.
those mixed up?
Insidious. Do you like those
Yeah.
ones?
No.
Because that's
I mean,
the one I'm thinking of.
They're
Is
pretty
they have
shy,
one with-
but
You know, like the kids' toy one where you like have the
yeah.
it's like go and you click it.
Oh, that's
and
the
it
red
changes
face
the
you're
picture.
talking about in Insidious.
Yeah, I was thinking of the
Yeah.
wrong film.
When he's behind his face, it's because it's still Patrick. I can't remember his name, but he is in The Conjuring, the same guy that's
Yeah,
in
it's the
Insidious.
same guy. He's in like
Yeah.
every horror film.
Yes, he is.
He's the horror film guy. But that one,
he's
they've got that
excellent in
thing
the
where you
Conjuring
like,
movies.
it's like the picture viewer that you have as
Yeah,
a
yeah.
child, but it's just got different coloured filters, and that's the angle you're seeing. Like you're seeing the
Yeah.
POV through that, and with each click, you're just like, something's coming, and you know it's
Yeah.
coming. Oh my god! And then something comes, and you're like, "Ah!"
Yeah. Insidious does have a cool moment though, in that it has a great jump scare, the one that you referenced, the red face when it's behind his shoulder, like and it's fucking horrible. But it comes out of absolutely
just cuts-
nowhere. It's in the middle of the
Yeah.
day. Never
It's just the
never,
reverse shots.
never anything to suggest. It's crazy. It's a great little jump scare.
you
but I
guys
don't really
seen-
like the rest of it.
It was a film that, for some reason, we were shown in secondary school. I have no idea why. I think our teacher just wanted to scare the shit out of us.
Excellent.
I think it's called The Others. I can't potentially.
maybe I know that name.
I'm pretty sure, other than like Shaun the Dead, that was like
Yeah.
the first horror film I watched. I'm pretty sure that's the reason I don't really watch them, because
They've been put off.
I know that
oh,
name.
my camera has just died.
Oh no!
Yeah. So The Others was the thing that made me probably not want to watch horror films. I don't even think it was particularly scary. It was just, at the time, I was like 14 or 15 or something. Probably 15, because I think it's probably a 15 film.
And you're a
I
law-abiding
don't know why.
citizen.
Just
Oh,
Yep.
you're at school, so
Always.
yeah, they would have to show you.
Yeah, it would
I
have been,
thought
yeah.
you were just like, well, it was a 15, so I was probably 15.
it was I had to watch it at 15.
No, yeah, you're at school.
Um,
That makes sense.
However, saying that, I have come around to watching some horror things,
Mhm.
more so at uni, but with American Horror Story is something that I very much enjoyed.
I went off it.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't like it. I think
Hotel.
I got halfway through
shite.
Coven, didn't watch the Clown Circus one.
That one was decent. Freak Show was decent.
I didn't get into it because to me it was like the horror kind of left and it started being about either like supernatural or gore, and I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not really into this now. It's not really like an interesting enough story to like keep me going.
Well,
Those first
yeah.
two seasons were really, really good stories, especially
Except for
that
the
I-
alien bit.
Yeah, I didn't like that. The first season, I thought was such a strong opener. Like, I loved watching that.
That's
it
my
was
favourite
scary. It was interesting as well. Like, it wasn't just like a typical horror story. It's like, there's people in this house and it's all spooky. It was like a genuinely interesting story. And I think,
And learning the backstories
yeah. And
of
I
the
think
ghosts in the house.
potentially like TV series of horror are almost like with the Saw films. It's like you have so much that you can explain and so much that you can like develop that it almost makes it scarier.
Yeah.
I would say TV horror is becoming better than film horror.
With the exception
'Cause
of
there's
the
more
Conjuring
depth.
movies.
Except in the what?
The Conjuring
Conjuring.
movies.
Oh, fuck's sake. But I mean,
I fucking
like you were
love 'em.
saying, it kind of became more about supernatural stuff and gore.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Like,
it's no, it's
I think
yeah,
I
very
started
supernatural.
watching. I started watching Hotel, and I think I got 1 or 2 episodes in, and it was
Yeah.
like blood orgies. You've got Schmidt from New Girl. Basically, there's a guy in a gimp suit who pegs him to death with a horn,
Nice.
and I was like, "This isn't for me."
Yeah, see, that's interesting because all I really knew about American Horror Story is that it's like very supernaturally, and I know there's other sides to it and shit like that. And I did try and watch it, and someone said to me, "You don't need to start from season 1." So I think I may have like tried on Coven or something like that.
I would though.
But
the thing is, you
and I
don't,
did
because
not
it's
like
not-
it.
Yeah, no,
it's
They
It's
do
not
really
connect
a
further
story.
down.
I
They
gave
connect
up.
further down.
Yeah, that.
I-
you don't
I,
have. You don't. The thing is, they're not like an interconnected. They are an interconnected story, but not at the start. It all, which is all kind of why I liked it as well. They were like separate stories. Like season 1, season 2 are 2 completely different stories.
Same.
I haven't
actors.
watched enough for it to connect yet. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was like the first one was just like typical kind of horror, and then the second season was just creepy as fuck. Like kind of like really twisted and messed up, and just
yeah,
more like dark.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was in an asylum, which is already like scary enough, right?
And what they do as well, I think, which is good, is because they do deal with like ghosts and stuff like that and
Mm.
aliens, but quite often you find that the scariest elements are living people.
Yeah.
Like the people who are alive are almost the scariest elements, which I think is why I liked it. If I
Yeah.
want to be scared, I want to be scared of something that could apply to me.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh
So-
yeah, I could be murdered in a home invasion.
Yeah,
That's scary.
There's one other one that I want to mention, which may surprise you, but The Walking Dead was
Mhm.
very, very good horror for 1 episode.
yeah.
The
Which
first,
one? The first.
the pilot was a very, very good horror. It
Yeah.
brought you into the world. You didn't really know anything about the zombies. You were just with this guy who had woken up out from a coma, had no idea what was going on. The world
Yeah.
was completely fucked up.
Well, it's
And he-
like American 28 Days Later, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. That's
Don't
fucking
dare to
film
open
as well.
inside.
Don't dare to open inside. But that scene when he's lighting a match to like
Ooh.
walk around like this abandoned
Ooh, that's a
hotel, and
good
it goes out, and you're like, holy fuck! When he lights that, there's going to be something, and there isn't something. But that's good horror, making you think, like scaring yourself.
Subverting the expectation.
Yeah.
But not the Game of Thrones subverting expectation.
yeah.
Of being
But
bad.
there's
Well,
there's
it got
interesting
bad.
here.
It
Two
subverted my
seasons.
expectations of being good.
2 seasons that I have never got into. I think I agree with you. I loved that first episode of The Walking Dead, and I think I then watched the second one and went, what happened? Like,
Yeah.
why did this get rubbish? And so I immediately dropped it. American Horror Story. Again, there are 2 things I haven't seen enough of to pass judgment on. I just got bored and dropped them. American Horror Story, maybe 3-4 episodes. A, got bored and dropped it, but B, critically the main one is the whole thing stinks of Jared Leto to me, and I'm
Of what, sorry? Which
Jared
does?
Leto. American
What
Horror
does?
Story
Oh, right.
gives me
Okay.
big Jared Leto vibes, and it makes me uncomfortable. Don't like it.
What the fuck?
I knowing that there's a chance that he could pop up makes me go, I'm out. I don't want to risk seeing Jared Leto in this.
That's like, have you seen a video? It's like, there's a guy, and all this guy's with his friends. They're filming him, and he hates Kevin Spacey films. This was before like all of the
Yeah,
allegations and stuff. But it was like they made him watch Seven because he doesn't show up right until the end. And they're like filming him, and Kevin Spacey comes in. He's just like, "Fuck."
Oh, that's amazing. You'll have to
Well,
send me
what's
that at the
interesting
end.
as well-
That's so
Oh, well,
good.
yeah.
But like, back to The Walking Dead there. So I was watching it and I got to season 3, but again, as
Yeah.
with a lot of TV series, I quite like to binge watch, so I don't
Mhm.
watch
Yeah.
stuff immediately. And it was on like season 6 or something by the time I started watching it. And when I got to season, and again, as someone who doesn't really mind gore all that much, I was halfway through season 3, and spoilers to anyone who hasn't watched all
Mhm.
of it. there was a scene where that guy with the barbed wire bat
Oh, I've seen that.
Like-
yeah,
smashes in Glenn.
yeah.
That's
Like,
like
smashes
season
his head.
5 or 6.
I was going to
Yeah.
say that's quite late on, isn't it?
Oh right,
I
I thought you
saw
meant
that.
that was
No, I saw that
Oh, I see what
online.
you're saying.
right.
because everyone was kicking off about it. And I was like, I don't actually give that much of a shit about this show.
Mhm.
And so I went and watched it, and it genuinely turned my stomach. And I was like, if that's where this show is going, I can't be asked. And I sacked it
Well-
off
I will explain to you why people were kicking off.
because they killed Glenn.
No, that happens in the comics. That's
No.
that was fine. I'm pretty sure what had happened was what the ending of the season 5, whatever it is.
Mhm.
They had the guy with the baseball bat and the barbed wire and cut to a POV shot of going dunk, and then the golden eye like blood drip went
Right.
down over the camera, and it ended.
Well,
And everyone was-
no,
that is
'cause I remember
was the
seeing
start.
his head like get absolutely.
Yeah,
fucking-
it did at the start of the next season.
Oh,
So they had been like, someone dies. Oh no. You better
right.
watch next season. It was, but then they killed 2 people anyway. So like, if you wanted to like have a big dramatic moment, you'd kill someone at the end of one season, then kill someone at the start of the next one. Because
Mhm.
you wouldn't expect that. You'd be like, oh, this is the aftermath, and he's like, no, I'm going to kill someone else.
Yeah,
it was just
that
so
was the-
horrible. And
Yeah.
I think-
Oh no, I'm sure
I think
it was.
like the performance as well was like after that first hit, he's like on the ground, his head's
Mm.
like fucking split, and it's like a person with a severe brain injury like trying to talk, and it was just so harrowing to
Mm.
watch. I was
Yeah.
like, that isn't what I had to go and watch behind the scenes footage of
to
like
make sure he was
his
okay.
actor in just to make me feel better. The actor in like the split like
Mm.
makeup going, "Hey guys, hi," and I was like, "Oh, I feel a little better, but I still feel sick a little bit." So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, sack that off. Bye.
but it is
It's
kind of quite
unnecessary gore. You don't have to see it.
unnecessary gore, but like it's interesting to me that that's where we've arrived. I mean, I guess The Walking Dead isn't technically horror, but it drifts into that territory, you know.
Mm.
And for TV horror, as you were saying before, being mostly, you find it mostly better than film. And it's quite weird, really, when you think about how long horror has been knocking about, because it's so ingrained into our culture. Like we're just obsessed with the macabre and nightmares, and we always have been. Like if you go back to folklore and all those old stories, and then
The Grimm
going
brothers.
through to like and like Edgar Allan Poe, and then going into film and like German Expressionist and Nosferatu, all the way to 80s slasher and Chainsaw Massacre
Stephen
and
King.
Stephen King films. Because as I referenced Misery at the start of this, that's definitely a horror film, even though that's when you started changing lanes. It started becoming a bit different, a bit more psychological. And then now we've arrived at this point where it's like, we're sort of past the gore, we've done the found footage thing, and it's currently like spooky, like spooky's popular. And it's just interesting, as you were saying, to see where we're going to go. What would you say is your favourite period? Would it be slasher films or current, or hell, is Nosferatu your favourite horror film?
No, vampires don't really do it for me.
No.
Kind of
They
vampires,
suck.
zombies.
Fuck
I
you,
s- I
Nathan.
say ghosts, but then some of my favorite. Oh fucking hell!
I can't believe you missed that.
Yeah, it took a second for my brain to be like, he said that. Yeah, But-
Sorry.
like stuff like The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
That is. But is that just appreciating how incredibly well made it is as well?
Mm.
Mhm.
Like the amount of like
potentially.
they've got like ghosts in the background for no reason other than to be like, oh, I saw that. Oh,
Yeah.
and even Haunting of Bly Manor, that gets very psychological rather than it's ghosty as well, but it's very psychological.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I don't know. I like feeling nervous.
I feel that, yeah. They're
Tension.
tense.
Like, you want the payoff, obviously.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a jump scare, but you want something. And I think it goes back to like every other kind of film that I like. It's storytelling. Like,
Yeah.
if it's just like, I felt like it's the comparison between Saw and Hostel. Hostel was gory.
Yeah.
There was story built around it, I guess. But the story was a group of people go on holiday, rich people buy them and torture them to death. And that's kind of the story.
Yeah.
Whereas Saw has story.
It does.
Haunting of Hill House has story, and you care about the characters, and you see them from like being children to adults, and it's like, fucking hell, this is incredible.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I've always thought that sort of the two staple rules I have for horror films is you have to have an interesting story, not necessarily even a good story, just one that interests me, and it has to be scary. If it's just a good story and it's not scary, it's a thriller. And if it's just scary and it's not a good story, it's not an enjoyable film. So I know that there's people that love horror movies friends. Regardless. Yeah, true. But it's still not a good film. But if I wasn't watching it as having a laugh, I wouldn't enjoy it. You know what I mean? Whereas I can watch horror movies.
I mean, it doesn't really count because it's like when you experience something with friends, it's different because the thing that makes it enjoyable is the fact that you're with people, not the film itself. So you can't give the film credit for that.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah.
I would say,
I would guess for you, Nathan, I was going to say, is it that sort of, we touched on it because the Stephen King era and Misery is the one I mentioned, but we haven't spoken about The Shining yet. And I would guess that might be your...
Or Jaws.
Or Jaws, yeah.
Well, because I did really enjoy The Shining when I watched it. It's not really... The thing is, I went into it being like, this is going to be like a horror film. This is like the horror film to watch, right?
Yeah.
I still really enjoyed it, but I was like, it's not that scary. Just like weird, scary. Like it's not like it's not like Insidious or The Conjuring. It's not like jump scares and stuff. It's just when like, the blood comes down, you're like, this is really like it's just really fucking weird.
It's a psychological horror, really.
Yeah, it is. But I was going to say, because I've not watched a lot of horror films. I've not really watched many contemporary horror films. I've not watched many old horror films. So I can't really comment. However, I did hear a very interesting thing about people talking about Aliens, which was when it got the 4K HD remaster, whatever it was, people found it less scary. And the problem was that the thing that made it scary watching it at home, doesn't matter if you like turn all your lights off, whatever, the thing that made it scary when it was first being released is the fact that it was on VHS. And the grain of VHS made it so you couldn't see the aliens in the background in dark scenes.
Right.
And when you can see if they're there or not in these HD remasters, it loses that bit of tension where you're like, are they back there? Are they not back there?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's interesting.
It makes total sense, really.
Yeah.
Because as we've mentioned a few times, like the jump scares that are memorable to us are the ones that came out of nowhere and stuff. So it's similar. If you can see something coming a mile off, it's not going to be as scary. And I think also it has a charm, doesn't it? In a way that can. It's like when you see in films like Sinister, if either of you have seen it, where Ethan Hawke, previous guest of the podcast, goes and he watches he watches some old tapes in his attic.
We need to try and get him on.
Families being killed. Yeah, but he watches some old tapes in his attic, and they're super scary because
I've seen that one.
Partly because of the video content is fucking horrible, but also because if they've got this grain to it, and it's the aesthetic of it that there's just something that's scary about, and that it's a particular aesthetic. Yeah, scary. But yeah, that's interesting because
And
I just want to
it's
go.
difficult to cover everything.
Yeah, it is because like we haven't even mentioned slasher films, and slasher films defined the genre for so long. But we've almost got to a point now where we're just past it, and like it's so cheesy. Like the idea of like Jason and Freddy Krueger and stuff is laughable now. Really, like the Halloween.
Well, I feel like
costumes more
films
than
like Scary
anything
Movie
like
kind
that.
of did those as
Yeah.
like a disservice because it's like it kind of revealed that it's actually not
Yeah,
that scary.
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Killed the
also
horror
our
film. Killed the
generational
slasher
film. It's a generational thing,
Yeah.
sorry, should I say? Because like we've grown up in an era where that's gone. When I was growing up, like as a young kid, when you're thinking about horror films, it's, as I said, like it's an 18. Like it was The Ring and The Grudge.
Ooh.
Those were the ones that were coming out that were like
Oh yeah.
they're the scary ones that I'm not allowed to watch. So you grow up and then you sneak out and you watch them, and you go around to a friend's house and have a sleepover, and you watch these horrible like early 2000s horror films that were coming out at the time. And then you get told when you're a bit older, and your mum's like, "Well, if you like horror films now, I was crying in the cinema at Nightmare on Elm Street," and you watch it and you're like, why? Like, why were you so scared? Because it's generational. Like you get used to different types of things. Like the idea of that is like
Even talk about Doctor Who. Like
yeah,
you've got parents like
yeah,
saying, "Oh, I was hiding behind the couch."
sofa.
And I'm
All
like-
parents say the same thing. All of them
Oh,
do
it's
the same
Doctor
thing.
Who. It's so scary.
When those Cybermen will come out, I was right behind that couch. And then you see footage of the old Cybermen,
It's like,
and they're
okay.
they're like weird, like tinfoil men, and like the idea that any child would just be like, Jesus Christ, like get behind that sofa. But it's just generational. It's like what you're used to,
Ever-protecting sofa.
what culture is telling you at the time is scary, and what you're supposed to be scared of. And if it's impending war, you'll see movies that are about war. If it's disease in the air, because I guarantee you there's going to be a shitload of fucking disease horror films coming out in the next 5 years because of
There already is.
the situation.
There's already a COVID like 24
Yeah,
fucking
so
film.
it's all about
Just stupid.
it's what's popular and what's the thing that we should be scared of. That's the horror film lore. I can't wait
Yeah.
to see what my kids are scared of and use it against them.
Well,
But yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I think we've covered
It
everything.
has to
We've
be.
had
Yeah.
to cover it as much
I'm
as we
surprised
can.
we've spoken as much as we have about horror.
Yeah, this is about as much as we spoke about David Fincher, which is crazy, really, because
Mad.
we love
And
David
we
Fincher.
still haven't talked about so many things.
Oh yeah. There's so
You know.
much to talk about, but we've only got so much time.
Not tonight.
And
Maybe we'll do a horror part 2 later down the line. Probably not. But
yeah, well, you
not.
never know. Maybe we'll
Never
revisit
know.
it. Maybe
episode
a film
100.
club. Could be a film club. You never know. A horror
Just
film.
Yeah.
a few weeks of horrors, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that could be good.
I will pass.
Horror week.
Just find the most scary, horrible shit for Nathan to
Yeah.
watch.
Fuck yeah.
Make him watch the others.
Sonic the
Oh
Hedgehog.
yeah. Revisit the others. That would be great.
I don't even
Bring
think
back
it's that good of a
childhood
film. I
trauma.
can't
10
remember.
years later, how does he fare?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up to see what it's got. 7.6 on IMDb, so it might be
I have
What
an
class-
image.
what
I have
class
an
was it?
image in my head.
What class
of, like,
was it?
English.
Why?
Excellent.
Don't know.
I have an image in
Christopher
my head
Eccleston.
of little kids with bags on their heads. Am I
Right.
making that up? Or is that it?
Um,
And I'm not thinking of The Orphanage, for anyone that's thinking I am. It's a
or the
great film, by the way.
KKK.
No,
83% on Rotten
not the
Tomatoes.
KKK.
It
There's a
Was
child with a
nominated.
veil on their head.
for a BAFTA of Best Screenplay and Best Performance by Nicole Kidman. So
Nicole Kidman.
it should be all right.
I reckon I've seen it, but like a long, long time ago, and,
Mm.
like with my mum or something.
It was a
sounds like the sort of thing
2001
she'd show
film.
me. It
Anyway.
sounds familiar. Anyway,
No, I remember. Yeah,
Oh.
I remember the plot line now. The children are scared of the light, I remember now.
As opposed to the dark.
Yeah.
Subversion.
Clever.
Yep.
Very clever.
Very good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so if you've enjoyed this episode, thank you very much. It's been a nice long one so far. Thank you for sticking with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for sticking with
Been a bit
us.
fucking mad.
It has been a bit mad. That's why I can't
Whoever's
talk
left.
anymore. Yes.
Jeff.
It's episode 21, so thank you very much for sticking with us past the 20 mark. We didn't think we'd make it this far. But if you have liked this video, give it a like down at the bottom. Give it a subscribe. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, give us a cheeky little follow as well. And if you're on any other platforms, you know the deals with liking and follows. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're on all of the above. You can follow us at Glassline Media. On TikTok, we are Glassline Podcast. You'll be able to find us there. And yeah, that's it. So thank you very much, everybody. We don't have a spooky ending like we had a spooky intro, but
It didn't work.
something
Fuck.
scary. No, because I think it peaked. So I think what Alex tried to do there was like try and make a boo joke again.
I didn't hear him.
Didn't hear. All I
sake.
heard was nothing, and then you going like that. So
Right, that's it. End of.
that's it.
Bye.
That's the outro.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Fuck with me.